Hey guys, it's the Unsmooth Criminal, and this is a what if part that everybody's been asking for. I saw like 10, please make a part 2, begging me to make a part 2. So here's the part 2 of what if Deku was a Neko, or a horror Neko. So if anybody understood the Jigsaw reference, the Slenderman reference, I just mainly did Jigsaw and Slenderman. Oh, and the hiding the face reference is to Leatherface. I think his name's Leatherface. Oh, Nuxanor. Oh, but if you guys haven't subscribed to Nuxanor or Nuxtaku, you guys need to. He's hilarious. But back on topic. If you guys want to help me with any of my what ifs or give me suggestions for new what ifs, I'm gonna put a link in the description to my Discord, and you guys need to follow me on, or not follow, join my Discord to actually give me the suggestions, because I'm going to start ignoring the suggestions in the comment section, but not very many of them. If they look appealing to me, I'm going to do them. Like the Kaguya what if, I got to restart all over, because I'm going to put more depth into the character. But let's go to the next day after Izumi called Mitsuki, and they got together and they started talking. And yes, Leo, you're annoying. Hi, buddy. My cat Leo is currently taking over the center of my bed. I'm on my bed, so hi. So she's currently at home after the day of beating Mitsuki, and Aizawa was like, so there's another person that she's gonna protect. Oh god, this is gonna be a nightmare. And he calls Mitsuki up, and Mitsuki's like, who is this? And he goes, my name is Shota Aizawa, and I have adopted Izumi Midoriya. Now she's Izumi Aizawa. And she's mentally the age she looks physically. So, I need to talk to you about her quirk. So, he tells her a cafe that he wants to meet her at, and she meets him at a cafe and sees that he's the Pro Hero Eraserhead, and he goes, about her quirk, did you know that the person, the vigilante slash villain Jigsaw was Izumi? And Mitsuki was like, what? What? And he goes, yeah. Did you hear anything back from her after the incident with her mother? And Mitsuki goes, once her mother died and after the funeral, I lost all contact with her. I tried going to her home. She normally wasn't there. I tried calling her. She never answered. She was absent. And Isaac goes, okay, what was her quirk? Or what is her quirk? And Mitsuki goes, oh, that's easy, Neko. She can do anything a cat can. And Aizawa goes, okay. Well, he explains her new quirk and what it can do and how it works. And Mitsuki's like, oh my god, how did this happen? And he goes, I don't know. I do know that she only goes after villains and heroes that commit crimes, or people who offend or hurt any of the people she cares about. So if you find your son coming home with bruises that look really bad, it's probably because he hurt someone that she's close to. And she goes, oh, yeah, my son Bakugo, who apparently one day just came home with a bruise. And Aizawa goes, oh yeah, if he does anything other than bruise her, he's most likely going to play the game. And she, knowing the profile of Jigsaw, because she was a she's a lawyer, and she's, well, caught up on court cases, and Jigsaw is a very big court case. She goes, "Oh God, I'll tell him that immediately." So she calls up Bakugo, and Bakugo's like, "What do you want, old hag?" And she goes, "Okay, in the last few days, who have you bullied?" And he goes, "I bullied a white-haired kid with a horn on her head." And that's the same day that one masked girl showed up at school, or showed up and punched me in the face. And Mitsuki goes, "Okay, so that white-haired kid with a horn on her head, don't hurt her." And he goes, "Whatever, old hag." And he hangs up, ignoring her, and she goes, "I'm gonna have to punish him." And Aizawa goes, okay, and what does he want to be when he grows up? And she goes, "He wants to be a hero, but he currently acts like a villain. I need to fix that." And Aizawa goes, "Okay, I understand that. If you send him to the quirk counseling, they can help with behavioral rehabilitation too. Because there's some quirks that affect people's behavior." And Mitsuki goes, "Then why don't you send Izumi there?" And Aizawa goes, "I wish I could, but Izumi doesn't leave Eri's side if she doesn't have to." And Mitsuki goes, "Then why is she not at the same school?" And Aizawa goes, "She's being homeschooled for Eri's and her safety. And I said to her, after her homeschooling is done, she can walk to Eri's school and wait for her. And I make sure that her homeschooling lasts just as long as Eri's school day, so she gets there right when Eri's getting out of school." And Mitsuki goes, "Oh, okay. That makes a lot of sense. Um, so I have a question." And Aizawa goes, "Yes? Could I talk to Izumi every once in a while?" And he goes, "Yeah, sure. Go right ahead. As long as you don't threaten Eri, hurt Eri, or accidentally hit Eri, you're going to be fine." And Mitsuki hears this and goes, "Okay, so I'm guessing the person she's closest to is Eri." And Aizawa goes, "Yeah." And she asks, "What did Jigsaw do to the Yakuza gang?" And he goes, "When we caught, this is a very private matter, so I'm going to tell you this once and only once. When I caught Jigsaw was after she said her name. Well, really, it was after I learned what her name is and kind of followed her and so on." Mitsuki goes, What do you mean followed her?" And Aizawa says, "Well, when I first saw her, she was in the form of Jigsaw. And I kept track of her, and she was originally 15, and she was trying to get into UA, and she passed and got into UA, and her quirk activated again, the Jigsaw side. And every night she would go out and talk to slash abduct villains and heroes to play a game with them. And the last time we had a Jigsaw episode was the Yakuza incident. And Mitsuki, knowing a little bit about the Yakuza incident, goes, "You mean when you found all of them in that warehouse and they were locked in for 24 hours?" And he goes, "That was Izumi's doing." And Mitsuki goes, "What do you mean that was Izumi's doing?" And he goes, "Well, Izumi used her horror quirk and walked into the Yakuza base and just tapped all the members that were under overhaul because they were abducting children, torturing children, and he just says the very bare minimum of sadistic things that Overhaul and his group was doing to these children. And he says that he was using a child that he was supposed to be taking care of, and he stutters he stops at this and sighs. He was doing experiments on the granddaughter of the Yakuza boss. And Mitsuki's like, what? And he goes, I can't say anymore, but Eri is the only thing that we have found to keep Izumi from going berserk. Or, sorry, going jigsaw again. And Mitsuki goes, here's the thing is, I know Izumi, and she's such a kind-hearted soul that she wouldn't hurt anybody. And he goes, I know, but something broke within Izumi, and now she has two personalities. The Izumi Midoriya you know, and the jigsaw side. And Mitsuki goes, what? No. No, this can't happen. Izumi was a cinnamon roll. She was everybody's cinnamon roll. What happened to have this? And Aizawa says that apparently the classes that she was in was bullying her for her ears and her tail and her cat eyes and fangs, and they called her a monster and said that she belonged in a horror movie as the monster. And apparently that her quirk was so unstable and strong that it changed her quirk completely. And Mitsuki asked, when was this? And he goes, I think it started roughly around a week after. And she goes, a week after what? Or was it the day of? It might have been the day of the funeral or a week after her mother died. And Mitsuki's eyes widen, going, I kept in contact, and I went over every night and her mother died for a few weeks before the funeral. And nothing was out of the ordinary. And then she dropped off the face of the earth for me and Bakugo. And Aizawa goes, okay, so that's when it started. So we currently have a deal with Izumi that she can stay with Eri as long as she doesn't kill and she doesn't play any games. And Mitsuki goes, okay, anything else? And he goes, oh yeah, don't talk about Eri if she doesn't bring it up. Because then she thinks that you're hostile towards Eri. And Mitsuki goes, what do you mean, hostile towards Eri? And he goes, exactly that. She'll think that you're trying to either hurt Eri or kill her to hurt Eri. And Mitsuki goes, okay, so how did this obsession start? Aizawa says, so while she was Jigsaw, she saw Eri and saw that she was a little girl and that she didn't have very much fun. And she wanted to make Eri have a little fun. So after I stopped Izumi from going from being Jigsaw and the boss of the Yakuza members that weren't doing any illegal activity or any unwanted illegal activity at that time came over to UA, and they asked to see the girl who saved Eri. And Mitsuki goes, wait. The boss of the Yakuza wanted to see Izumi. Why? And he goes, I'm about to get to that. He goes, he kind of wanted to thank her. And Izumi started to bond with Eri, and by the time that we got close to Eri, we had to ask Izumi first. So anything we do with Eri, we have to ask Izumi and get Izumi's permission. And she goes, what do you mean? How did you know she bonded? And he goes, well, it went dusk before we knew it, and Izumi was sleeping with Eri on one of the infirmary beds, and they weren't hurt, obviously. They were just tired, so they started sleeping, and we saw our principal, Nezu, of UA, saw the Jigsaw mask appear, and she woke up, saw Eri in front of her, and saw that she wasn't awake, so she fell back asleep, and the Jigsaw mask disappeared. And Mitsuki goes, so that's how you know she bonded. And he goes, apparently, if she's not sleeping in the same room, anybody who walks into the room is gonna die. So, I wonder how this is gonna work when she gets older. But hopefully she doesn't get too many raging hormones. And Mitsuki starts to chuckle at this, going, yeah, hopefully. And she goes, I have a question for you, Aizawa. And he goes, sure, what is it? And she says, is it okay if me and Katsuki Bakugo, the one who beat up Eri, come and apologize to Izumi and Eri? And he goes, I don't know. How about you, Izumi? And Izumi appears out of nowhere and goes, he does need to apologize to Eri, and disappears. And Mitsuki's just like, and he goes, she's been standing there the entire time. I finally noticed her. And Izumi, if you appear again, I'm grounding you, and you can't see Eri for 2 days. And she doesn't appear again. And he goes, now that she's gone, we can continue this conversation. And Mitsuki goes, are you her adoptive parents, and are you going to take care of her? And he goes, first one, yes, and second one, it's a hassle, but yes. So they finish their conversation, they say goodbye, and Aizawa goes home and sees it's close to dusk, and this time Izumi's currently playing with Eri in the backyard. They're like having imaginary fights, training, getting ready for school the next day. Things that normal kids wouldn't do, but these two would. So, we skip another, they're currently 10, 4 years. It's the end of the middle school year before the last middle school year. And Izumi biologically is 14, and she keeps up with age with Eri, so every time Eri grows up 1 year by a year, Izumi grows up by a year. But Izumi finally reached the mental age of 10. And she's gotten even more clingy to Eri, and Eri's gotten a little clingy to Izumi. If anybody can see the ship by now, I can definitely tell you are correct. So, hmm. So, Eri's currently at school, and Izumi has the news on behind her while she's doing a test, and the news says, "Breaking news! A villain has abducted a little girl at school." And Izumi whips her head around and sees it's Eri, and Aizawa couldn't stop her before that happened, and Izumi just disappeared. And she's currently in full black. No one can see her ears, no one can see her tail, and all they can see is the jigsaw mask. And she appears in front of this person, and this villain, and he goes, "Who the hell are you?" And she asks him, she asks him her catchphrase, "Do you want to play a game?" And he goes, "No, screw off." And Eri sees the mask and says, "Please help." And Izumi, hearing this, kind of goes berserk, and these arms come out of the shadows from the wall near him and grab him and start ripping him limb from limb. And the news is not seeing this because they're currently inside the building, and Eri runs over to Izumi and hugs her and says thank you, and Jigsaw, this personality that took over, says, "Get behind me." And Eri goes, "Okay," and under the mask, Jigsaw starts to smile. And Jigsaw walks up to the villain and asks again, "Do you want to play a game?" And he asks, "What's the prize if I win?" And she goes, "If you win, you get to live. But if you lose, I get both your arms and both your legs." And he goes, "What can a child do? Fine, I'll play your dumb game." And so Eri's like, "Oh crap." And she pulls out her phone and texts Aizawa she's playing, and he goes, "Crap." So he calls all the hero agencies and says, "Go to every abandoned building close to the school as fast as possible because a game is being played." And by this time, every hero knows how terrifying Izumi's quirk is and how bad it can be if she plays a game. And they don't call it what its real name is. It's called a death run. They call it a game. And she texts Aizawa, if he loses his arms and legs. And he sees this text and goes, "Okay, so she's not killing." Oh, and his heart starts to beat normally because he was panicking and thinking, "Oh, she's going to kill again. She's going to break her promise." And so, Ingenium runs up to this abandoned building because he was in the area and he was scouting. And he hears a scream. And he looks in one of the windows and sees this stadium of imaginary people and this guy running across a board. And these traps, and deadly traps too, are aiming to kill him. And Ingenium hits the panic button on the devices that they're given, that if the game is being played, you grab the device and run and patrol looking for the game. he hits the panic button, and Aizawa immediately knows, "Aw, crap, we found her." And so he takes off running after her, and he finally gets to her, and he finds that she has a less deadly game than the last one he saw from her. And he knocks on the door, and Jigsaw appears outside and goes, "Sorry, the studio audience has already been filled. Please wait next time." And he goes, "Jigsaw, I have a ticket." And he shows a ticket, and Jigsaw's eyes start twitching and going, "You may watch, but only watch. All quirks in this building are temporarily disabled for 24 hours. And he walks in and says, "Thank you." And Jigsaw's like, "God damn it. I still hate that damn deal." Jigsaw goes back to being the announcer and says, "Oh, 2 strikes. You're about to be out." And this man has a teleportation quirk, but since it's in this building, she has complete control over this domain in the building. If anybody's seen One Piece and knows the Opa Opa no Mi from Law, I think his name is Law, but if anybody knows what the Opa Opa no Mi is, you know what this what this ability is. She has complete control over everything that happens in this specific area. So, she's the announcer. She's flying around on a little hoverboard, and she's being the announcer and announcing when he's close to being hit and when something drastic happens. And he finally reaches the end, and she goes, "Ah, we finally got a winner. Dang it. You would have won a special prize if you lost." And she goes, "You get the boring prize of being able to live." Ugh. And she appears in front of him and says, "You also get one other prize." And he goes, "What is that prize?" And she goes, "You get to go to jail." And a cop car appears in the area, and cuffs appear on him, and she looks over to Aizawa and says, "Name a police officer." And he looked over at the other studio audience, and it's just skeletons and corpses. And he goes, "Now Masa." And she goes, "Okay, Suguchi Naomasa, you have been selected to take this person into custody." And he appears out of nowhere, and he's like, what the hell's going on?" And she goes, "You've been selected to take this vigilante or this villain into custody." And he looks over and sees this villain that was at the school and notices that the panic button has been pressed, and he's like, "Okay, I'll gladly take this person into custody and try him for the crimes he's committed." And she goes, "Thank you." And she goes, "Come back next time." And she looks over at Naomasa and says, "You get a ticket." And he goes, "Oh, okay." And he takes the ticket and goes, "Am I allowed to give this away?" And she goes, "No, you are not. I give only 1 ticket per show." And the studio audience disappears. The stadium disappears. Aizawa is standing right next to Naomasa. This police car with a random number on it is there, and the keys are in the ignition. Naomasa gets in the police car, and currently the villain's in the back seat with quirk canceling cuffs and the collar that ticks down on time. And Naomasa says, "Eraserhead, just get in." And Eraserhead gets into the car, and the doors open. The big hangar-like doors open to the warehouse, and he goes, "At least he didn't die." And Izumi teleports back to Eri and hugs her, going, "I'm so glad you're safe." And Eri goes, "Oh, I thought you were going to kill him." And she goes, what? And Eri goes, no, never mind. I'm talking about Jigsaw. Never mind. And Izumi goes, who? You, you just said a bunch of gibberish for a second. And Eri goes, hmm. Um, huh. Well, let's go back home. And all the kids are currently outside, and Bakugo's like, where the hell's that white-haired horned person? Extra. Where the hell is she? I was told to protect her. Damn it, mother. And he sees Eri walk out of the building with Izumi, and he goes, Eri, what the hell? And she goes, I'm fine, Bakugo. You can leave me alone now. And Izumi asks, what's going on? Is he hurting you again? And she goes, no, no, no. Apparently he's been tasked to protect me by his mother. And Izumi looks at him and goes, oh, Auntie asked you to do that? I'm gonna have to thank her later. And Bakugo goes, whatever. And he walks home. Izumi walks with Eri back to Aizawa's, and Aizawa gets back to the house and she goes, Izumi, I need to talk to him. Or her, whatever gender you want to call Jigsaw. And Izumi goes, oh, okay. And the mask appears after dusk, and Eri was falling asleep because it was a long day. So Izumi walked into the office that Aizawa has, and she put the letter on her mask that's in front of her. Because she still does have the Jigsaw mask, but her quirk basically makes it appear in front of her face and stay there without anything holding it up there, or without her even having it on her. So she's currently in the Jigsaw mode, and Jigsaw looks at Aizawa and goes, no ticket, no talk. And he goes, okay, I understand. And he calls up Naomasa saying, I need you at my house immediately. 3 to 4 minutes later, Naomasa shows up and goes, yes, sir, sir. And he goes, apparently no ticket, no talk. And that one ticket I got for beating her in tag, I used up. So, I want you to make a deal with her. And he goes, sure. Why me, though? And he goes, no ticket, no talk. You're the only one who has a ticket. Go talk to her. And he goes, okay, what's the deal you want me to make? And he says, I want you to make a deal to have everybody who loses, instead of losing limbs, be arrested. And everybody who wins, lose limbs. And he goes, okay, I'll see what I can do. So he walks into the building, not the building, the room with Jigsaw, and Jigsaw goes, you got ticket. You talk. And he goes, okay, I have a deal for you. And Jigsaw looks at him and goes, what is it? And he says, it's about your games. If they lose, they get arrested. And she goes, no. They lose limbs, then get arrested. If they win, nothing happens, and they get arrested. That's it. No arguings, no ifs, ands, or buts. That's it. And he goes, fine. They lose one limb, and then they get arrested. And she goes, 2 limbs. And he goes, 1 limb, 1.5 limbs. And she goes, arms only. And he goes, a lot of quirks deal with the hands, so, one arm, that's it. One arm and one leg, that's it. And she thinks about this. And he says, oh, and not their dominant arm, by the way. But you can take their dominant leg. I don't care what leg you take, just the leg that you take, you must take the other arm so they can still move around slightly. And she goes, okay, I like that deal. If they lose one arm and one leg. If they win, they just get arrested. And he goes, yes. And she goes, I like that. And a contract appears in front of her. And she goes, sign. And he signs, and she goes, okay, me sign. And she signs, and it's signed Jigsaw. Not Izumi Midoriya. Jigsaw. And she pushes it back and says, you keep. And he goes, okay. He rolls it up and stuffs it in his jacket and goes, thank you, I'll come to your next show. And she goes, okay, can't wait. And the mask disappears and she flops on the bed, on the couch, and he goes, oh god, I hope that was worth it. And Aizawa runs in, grabs Izumi, and runs her up to Eri. And Eri was starting to wake up, being like, where is she? And he runs her in and says, oh, Eri, shh. And he puts her down, and she goes, oh, okay. And they start cuddling because they're very close. And Aizawa walks out and shuts the door and locks it behind him, and he starts talking to Naomasa in Aizawa's office, and Aizawa goes, okay, so from what I overheard just a tiny bit, and it's that you got her down from removing all limbs from both arms and both legs to one arm and one leg, and you can't get any further or she won't take it. Oh. Hold on, I gotta pause. So, now Masa and Aizawa finish up their chat, and now Masa leaves, goes to All Might's home, and talks to All Might, and gets to understand All Might a little bit more. God damn it, I got kitty crack in my pocket. I need to take that downstairs before my cat gets tired. Catnip is kitty crack. Just saying. So, he talks to All Might and says what happened, and he says that if I try to give this ticket away, I'm the next person who plays. And All Might hears the ticket, and he goes, oh, okay. So, she's going to UA, isn't she? And he goes, yeah, in a year. She's going to be going to UA, and she gets a guaranteed entry if Eri gets into UA. And he goes, oh, okay, I'll talk to these young girls and see what I can do to get them in. And so, Izumi gets to the age of 15, and Eri is 15, and it's the UA entrance exams. And Eri is excited about this because she finally gets to let loose on the strength training that she's been doing with Izumi, and Izumi gets to show Eri how cat-like she is, because Eri has never fought Izumi, and Izumi, the few times that she saw Eri fight, she got very overprotective, and Jigsaw came out. And Aizawa walks up to Izumi while she's at the gate and says, Izumi, whatever you do, do not let Jigsaw come out. And Izumi, not being able to hear Jigsaw's name, because she still can't, goes, I will not let the other me come out. I promise. But the other me says to protect Eri at all costs, so if Eri gets hurt, the other me's coming out. I don't care if you don't want it, but if Eri gets hurt, the other me's coming out. And he goes, okay, but no attacking other students. And Jigsaw takes over for a second and goes, I know, I'll only destroy their robots. I'll obliterate them, reform them, obliterate them a few more times because I like it. And it'll make me feel better. And then he goes, fine. And Jigsaw goes away, and Izumi comes back and says, I promise not to attack any of the other students. And he goes, I know, but thank you. And hopefully you get into UA. She goes, yeah. And she looks at Eri, and Eri's like, okay. And by this time, Eri has started to have feelings for Izumi, and Izumi has already had feelings for Eri. And Eri doesn't know she has these feelings for Izumi, but Eri just keeps a cheery face around Izumi and a cheery face around Jigsaw. Izumi knows what these feelings are immediately, and she just ignores them. But she is really obsessive. And, Bakugo has sworn on his life to protect Eri if he can. And Jigsaw made him. After he accidentally left a burn on Eri's arm. It wasn't just any kind of burn. It was just a first-degree burn that would stay there for a few weeks and then just go away. But Jigsaw flipped the hell out. And no one noticed, no one knew this, but in the middle of the night, Jigsaw appeared at Bakugo's side and said, creepily, do you want to play a game? And he wakes up to this and he goes, who are you? And the mask goes into the moonlight and she says again, do you want to play a game? And he goes, not really. And he's stuttering and he asks, what game? And she goes, oh, it's just a simple race. And he goes, how about this? And she goes, you have a different game in mind? And he goes, yes, if you can beat me in a card game, I will do one thing for you, and if I beat you in a card game, you leave me alone. And she goes, okay, but the second part is, if you do anything to anybody else, except Eri, I don't do anything to you. But if you do something to Eri, I pay you back eye for an eye, a tooth for a tooth. And he goes, that's fair. And so they start playing a game, and she asks what game, and he goes, poker. And Jigsaw goes, we're too young. How about this? We play one round of Go Fish and then one round of 21. and then another round of solitaire. Whoever has the highest score on all of those wins. And he goes, I agree. And so they play a round of Go Fish. Bakugo wins. And this is currently around midnight, and it's a school night. And they play a round of 21, and Izumi wins. So it's a tie, 1-1. And she says, if I win, you must vow to protect Eri and not harm anybody in the process. And she starts speaking in a weird accent and goes, as long as Eri is safe, you can do whatever the hell you want. But if someone tries to attack Eri, or something is about to hurt Eri, you help and make sure she is safe. And he goes, that's if you win. But if I win, you leave me alone. And she goes, I know. And by this point, the noise that they're making has woken up Mitsuki, and Mitsuki is standing outside of Bakugo's room and hears Izumi and knows it's probably Jigsaw. And she knocks on the door, and Katsuki was about to get up, and he can't. And he can't even speak. Izumi disappears in the blink of an eye and appears in front of Mitsuki and asks, and says, the studio audience is full. Sorry, but you can't watch. And Mitsuki goes, oh, okay. And Jigsaw, the personality took over, says, but since you are Izumi's very, very, very close friend, and was our mother's close friend, you get a ticket. But this ticket only works once. And she lays out the rules of the tickets, and the rules of the tickets are, they only work once, you can't give it to anybody else, or you lose the right to the ticket, and if you watch a show, you cannot say to anybody what happened in the show, and you cannot monopolize the tickets. It must be another random person that you just barely think of when you give another ticket. So this happened roughly a month after Naomasa got his ticket. So when Izumi went back to her home after playing the solitaire with Bakugo and her getting a lower time than him by a few seconds, so she won, he had to pledge, and she went back to her home, and she has a roll of pitch black, like night sky colored tickets, and they have a reflective film on them that under the right light you can see what the number is and what it says on it, and it's just hanging outside the door, and everybody who tries to touch it, their hand goes right through it, except for Jigsaw's. Izumi can't touch it, Eri can't touch it, only Jigsaw. So Jigsaw rips another ticket off, and it disappears. The next morning, Mitsuki wakes up, turns off her alarm, gets up and looks at her nightstand and sees a ticket there with a note saying, this is your ticket. And she's like, okay. That's kind of a little creepy. And she picks up the note and she turns it around just to see what's on the back, and it says, you look good. And her face goes a little red, being like, oh my god. My basically my niece was checking me out. Oh my god. And by this time, she's gotten Tsunade assets again, like you see in the picture, Tsunade assets. But they fit on her. So they're not too big, they're not too small, they just fit just right for her being shorter than the average person. And so Eri wakes up and she's still cuddling with Izumi, and she wakes up Izumi, and there Eri's like, it's today, the test is today, so we skip back to where they were at the practical exam, and Bakugo walks to the front and is just like, God damn it, why did I do that? Why did I play that game? And he's just thinking this and thinking this, and President Mike says, okay, and 3, and the doors start opening, and Izumi runs to the doors and shimmies through it like cats can do, because they can shimmy through smaller spaces than what their body fits, and it's weird. But she shimmies through it, and he goes, well, she's more of a hero than the rest of y'all. And they're all yelling, she's cheating. He goes, there's no countdown in a real battle. Get after her. Don't let her take all the points. And Izumi gets roughly 60 points, villain points, and just watches Eri. She's just watching Eri. And she got the villain points ridiculously quickly because she wanted to make sure that she could keep an eye on Eri. And all of a sudden, the 0-pointer happens, and someone's under rubble. And Izumi still has that heroic aspect of her, but she prefers to help Eri than anybody else. And she hears someone scream, help. And she looks over at this person and sees that Eri's running over to this person to help her get up. So she starts running over, and she catches up to Eri, and she asks Eri, are you going over to help her? And Eri says yes, and Izumi says, okay, you help her, I'll take down that thing. And she points to the 0-pointer and goes, this is going to be fun. And Eri goes, okay, but be careful. And she goes, no duh, I'm friggin' immortal. And Eri goes, I know you're immortal, but still, be careful. Jason Voorhees. So, Izumi gets up to the robot and punches a hole into the metal with her claws. So she has small, like 5 holes, and she keeps climbing up with her bare fingers and feet. And she's climbing up, and she finally gets to the head, and she punches a hole through the side and starts ripping down, then punches another hole and starts ripping across and opening a hole up. And she opens it like a door, and she walks in and sees all this wiring, and she starts swinging her arms wildly and cutting all the wiring. She has roughly 30 trillion volts running through her right this second. She has very sharp objects hitting her. She has pressurized objects flinging back at her. And she walks out of this robot, and it looks like she's mainly skeleton. And all of a sudden, her flesh starts to heal. And some of the people look at her and they're horrified. And when it heals all over, oh crap. When it all heals, a mask starts to appear on her face, and she goes, oh crap. Because she's starting to fall asleep. So, she yawns and stretches and says, I can't go to sleep now. I can't go to sleep now. And this thing starts clouding her vision, and she grabs it and pulls it off, and she's like, oh crap, I'm very tired. I gotta go home. And she walks over to Ari and goes, Ari, I'm tired. And she falls on Ari. And it's a cliche passing out on another girl, on a girl's breasts kind of moment. And Ari is very well endowed in this one. And Izumi falls right onto her. And Ari starts blushing at this and goes, oh god. So she calls Aizawa, and Aizawa comes over, and he goes, oh, okay. I think she wants you to carry her. And he goes, I know, but I still need you to drive us home. And he goes, oh yeah. Okay, I'll meet you in the car in 5 minutes. And she goes, okay, I'll be there. I'll be waiting there, and hopefully Izumi wakes up by then. So Eri gets to the car, and she's waiting, and Izumi starts to stir. And Izumi's been held bridal style by Eri before, but Izumi wakes up, and she sees this, what she thought was an angel, and she commented on it, and Eri goes, no, I'm not an angel. And Izumi goes, oh crap. And she starts going beet red, and Eri is a little red from the angel comment, and Izumi starts thinking of perverted thoughts and gets a nosebleed, and then passes out from the cliche anime nosebleed because the perverted thoughts went down a rabbit hole. Oh crap. And so Aizawa gets there and sees the little trickle of blood under her Izumi's nose and goes, what did I miss? And Eri goes, absolutely nothing. Now drive us home. And Eri is coming to terms with her feelings, and Izumi's finally not putting her feelings on the back burner anymore. So she's finally seeing them or feeling them. So it's the next morning, and the letters are supposed to arrive that day. Oh crap. Sorry for yawning so much. Oh my god, I'm tired. And Izumi wakes up and sees that she is half naked, and Eri is also half naked, like they normally are, but she feels something more. Butterflies in her stomach. Other feelings. You can imagine them. I'm not going into very detailed explanation of what's happening. And Eri wakes up and she says, morning, sleepyhead, and Izumi says morning, and she smiles, and Eri smiles, and they get up and do their normal routine. Izumi asks Eri if she wants to train or if she wants to watch a movie, and Eri goes, train, and then later let's watch a movie. And Izumi goes, okay, let's do that. And at this point, I was like, okay, so Izumi likes Eri, so legally they can't get married or legally they can get married, because marriage is just a union of two people, but legally it's frowned upon when two people of the same family get married, but they're technically not the same family, so the laws really can't say much about it. And so he's talking with his wife. I think I said Midnight was his wife. Yeah, Midnight. He's talking with Midnight on the kitchen table where they're waiting for Izumi and Eri to wake up because the letters were dropped off early that morning. And Izumi, being the horny 20-something year old, actually 20-something year old girl that she is, she plays with Eri and Eri plays with her. And that goes down the rabbit hole, and a few hours later they finally come out of the room and they're normal. So Jigsaw, seeing that Izumi finally accepted her emotions for Eri, was like, okay, so my job is done here. It's time for me to part ways and give her her full ability. And so Izumi sits down at the kitchen table and her head slumps forward. And Aizawa's like, what just happened? And the mask forms and Jigsaw says, so my job is done here and I'm officially giving Izumi all the memories I have and piecing out. So, my sadistic tendencies are gonna kind of transfer over. And Jigsaw turns towards Midnight and goes, and also, your masochistic and dominatrix personality is kind of what I have. So, she's gonna be kind of like you. And Aries hearing this entire thing and be like, okay. So Jigsaw's like, peace. And the mask just falls. It doesn't disappear, it falls. And Izumi's head slumps again, and they see tears rolling down her face. And Eri runs up and hugs her and says, it's okay, it's okay. And Izumi goes, it's not okay. I did so much bad. And she starts crying harder and harder. And Aizawa goes up and hugs her and saying, it's not your fault. It was your hatred that stemmed to evolve your quirk, and your quirk evolved to an uncontrollable desire to do something, and it manifested. And he starts explaining what the theory is, and she goes, but that was still me. And she's still mentally younger than her age is actually. She's 2 years younger than what her actual age is, mentally. Her physical age is. So, Eri and her are going to turn 15 the first day of UA, and or Eri's going to turn 15, and she follows up immediately with Eri. So her mental age increases by 1 every time Eri's age increases and her biological age increases. So How much time am I at? Oh, crap. I'm gonna need to stop this soon. Otherwise, it won't upload until tomorrow morning. Yeah, I'm gonna stop it here. So they're at the kitchen table. They're eating breakfast, and Hizumi's crying the entire time. Eri's hugging her. That's where I'm gonna leave it off. UA starts next episode, and the effects of the split personality merging is going to be shown. So, probably going to do another what if later. And I know you guys have been asking for this one. I'm happy to bring this one to you. So, here you guys go. Here was part 2 of What If Deku Was a Neko. Talk to you guys later. Bye!